Welcome to this episode of the Sports Detective Podcast Show. My name is James Williams, and today, have the Tennessee Titans already given up on the 2025 football season? What are we talking about? Well, this past Sunday, the Tennessee Titans fell to 0-3 after getting dominated by the Indianapolis Colts, losing 41-20, and things are not looking good for the Titans, not just because they're 0-3, but because wide receiver for the Indianapolis Colts, Michael Pittman, had a very revealing quote about the body language and demeanor of the Tennessee Titans before their game. Let's go ahead and I will read you guys. You'll see it here on your screen here in a second, and I will read Michael Pittman's quote talking about the Tennessee Titans. Pittman said, "Saw it in the pregame intros. They kind of looked a little sluggish. They were kind of walking around. Nobody was really bouncing. Right then and there, we all sat there and were like, they don't want to play today." Dang. That is an incredibly revealing quote. And this is not a good quote. There's also another sequence in this game with the head coach, Brian Callahan, where Tennessee has the ball. They're kind of borderline field goal range with about 50 seconds remaining in the first half. The Colts call a timeout because it's fourth down, and they're like, hey, if they kick the field goal, we want to make sure we have time to potentially go and get some points of our own. So the Colts call a timeout. During that entire timeout, Brian Callahan does not make a decision on whether he wants to go for it on fourth down or he wants to try and kick a field goal. Okay. He doesn't make that decision. They get out there. He has to call a timeout because he didn't make a decision. They come out of that timeout and they decide to kick the field goal. They don't have the proper ball. The Tennessee Titans do not get the proper ball out because this year they have new kicking balls specifically for kickers. They don't have the proper ball, so then they take delay a game. They attempt a 62-yard field goal. They miss it. The Colts get the ball back. The Colts are able to score before the end of the first half. That is day one just coaching malpractice. And that was a huge issue with the Tennessee Titans last year was if you heard anyone criticize them, it was like, hey, game management stuff is not Brian Callahan's bread and butter. That is not something that he is good at. Game management is something that he very much struggles with. And it's one thing, too, and we talk about this a lot on this show. We talk about, hey, can you grow? Can you grow as a coach? Can you grow as a player? Can you learn from past experiences? Can you get better? Yes, you absolutely can. You can become a better coach over time. The fact that it's year two and you do not know what to do in a certain down and distance situation, that is something that's day one stuff. It's like, oh, okay, we're 4th and 4. Okay, we're going for it. Anything 4th and 5 or short, we're going for it. I know a lot of people have mocked like the ESPN analytics of like 4th and whatever, and it's like it always seems like they say go for it. But that is how a lot of these coaches process this stuff. That's how a lot of this analytics driven stuff is like, processed. It's like, hey, it's down a distance, let's go. Do you guys realize how fast you have to be as a play caller? Like as soon as a play ends, you have to be ready for your decision. You have to be ready like that. At every time we're watching football, there's a touchdown that happens. What does the coach always do while everyone's celebrating? One finger in the air. We're going for one. Or they're going 2. We're going for 2. Like, this is day one stuff from Brian Callahan. And, getting to the thing of, like, the effort part of this, I'll go ahead and share with you guys a little bit of a story. I know you guys can see the Iowa State sign behind me. I worked for the Iowa State athletic department my last year at college there. And part of our job is that we had field passes for all of the games. And we got to be, right down next to all the players and the coaches and all of this stuff. And I remember specifically one game where it was an 11 a.m. kickoff, which would be noon Eastern time. And we were playing Kansas. And it was a day where it rained the entire morning before the game. It was just pouring rain for several hours. And the rain ended up clearing up before the game ended up starting. And I remember I went and I looked at the Kansas team. They're getting ready to run out onto the field. And I saw all of the body language, the looks on all of those players' faces. And I saw that look and I was like, oh, we're going to win today. Because the look that they had on their face was, I really don't want to go out here and play on this wet field. I just want to go home. Let's just go out there and let's play for 4 hours and let's just get back on a bus, head home to Lawrence, Kansas. And I just remember seeing that because I was nervous before that game because that was before Iowa State was like a respectable football program. And I was kind of like, I don't know about this game. Maybe Kansas can get in here and, steal a win from us. And that I promise you guys, I saw those guys' expressions before the game, and I was like, oh, we're winning this game. And Iowa State ended up shutting them out. Like, sometimes you can tell, back to Michael Pittman's quote, you can tell just sometimes looking at guys with their body posture, their facial expressions, like, oh, they're not ready to go today. They don't want to play today. They don't want to be here. They'd rather be home. They just want to get through the day. They're just buying time until the clock runs out. And that's very scary for the Tennessee Titans because this is week 3. This was a divisional opponent. You want to be hyped up for those type of games. You think like, hey, like, you know, it's the Colts. These are guys that you're scouting every single year. You're playing them twice every single year. The one consistency on your schedule every single year is that you were playing the Indianapolis Colts and the other 2 teams in your division twice a year. You should be up for those games. Those should be the games that you're up for, not the games that you're down for. Especially, too, when you saw that the Indianapolis Colts are teams that are begging to be exposed as frauds. And I'm not calling them frauds, but, you know, they beat the crappy Dolphins the first week. They got kind of lucky in the win against Denver. Like, they're begging to have somebody, you know, really kind of punch them in the face a little bit. And you had a golden opportunity there. You lost to Daniel Jones. You got blown out by Daniel Jones. And, you know, one thing this is a theory I'm working on with coaches that might be struggling at times in their tenure at a certain location, whether it's college or the pros. And it's kind of like, okay, your team isn't winning games, but is there one thing you can hang your hat on? Okay, we're not winning games, but we ended up improving as the season went along in X, Y, or Z. Hey, we're not winning games, but we have a really good quarterback and he's improving. We're not winning games, but we're really good at stopping the run. We're not winning games, but we're able to pass the ball really well. We're not winning games, but we have a really good offensive line. Wasn't the whole thing about Brian Callahan, Bo Callahan? They're supposed to be having a really good offensive line. This offensive line sucks. Statistically, right now, the Tennessee Titans are one of the worst offenses in the league and one of the worst defenses in the league. And I know there's not a lot of talent on this roster, but I was even going back to, and I was thinking about, because I'm recording this during Monday Night Football right now between the Lions and the Ravens, and I was like, you know, the beginning of Dan Campbell, like, how bad was that at the beginning? And I went back and looked. The first year of Dan Campbell, 2021, the Detroit Lions were 0-8-1. They ended up tying, I believe, to the Eagles sometime in that first year. And then the next year, in 2022, they ended up starting up 1-6. So they were very bad starting off both years with Dan Campbell. They were not that talented. But if you guys remember going back to those years and you were watching those Dan Campbell Detroit Lions teams play, they loved playing for Dan Campbell. They fought their asses off for him. They believed in him. They believed in his message. And over time, they started getting better. They started trusting the process. They started getting more competent. You could see that offense start to develop a little bit. And they trusted the process, and then eventually the process ended up loving them back. And that's why the Detroit Lions had the best record, or one of the best records in the NFL last year. That's why they're probably going to make the playoffs again this year. That's why for the next few years, they're probably going to be a perennial playoff team, because Dan Campbell has his guys fighting for him. Now, they obviously have a very talented roster. That helps out tremendously. But if you're the Tennessee Titans, you went from a guy in Mike Vrabel's really good at game management. He's really good at that little stuff like that. And if you've ever seen guys play for a Mike Vrabel team, they fight their asses off for him. So you went from Mike Vrabel to a guy that is the exact opposite of that. That is terrible at this game management stuff. And at least according to Michael Pittman and from a lot of Tennessee Titan fans that I'm seeing talk about him online, they are not playing for him. They might have already given up on the season. And that is very upsetting. You could say, hey, it's just a rough start to the season. You played Denver, who is probably going to be a playoff team. That's one of the best defenses in the NFL. You played the Rams, who are probably have a really good defense, are probably one of the better teams in the NFL. You played the Colts, who are probably going to end up being a playoff team this year, probably are going to win the division. And then even this next week, I know you're playing 0-3 Houston. But Houston also has even though their offense is absolute garbage right now, they do have one of the best defenses in the NFL still. So don't ruin Cam Ward. Please don't ruin Cam Ward. I loved watching him in Miami. I think he has a bright future. I think he's really talented. Tennessee, just don't ruin Cam Ward. Let's stop ruining these number 1 pick quarterbacks. Please don't. Let's get him a head coach that knows how to develop him, knows how to get the best out of him. I like Io Manor. I'm upset. I have Calvin Ridley on my fantasy team. Thought maybe he was going to be a high targets guy. Maybe he'll come around at some point. Again, it's early. It's week 3. But right now, things are not looking good for the Tennessee Titans. They were the worst team in 2024, and they might be the worst team again in 2025. Another thing, too, like, because I forgot to bring this up. The Browns won a game. The Browns beat the best team in the league. The Browns didn't give up. The Tennessee Titans are giving up. All right, that's going to do it for this episode here today. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure you hit like. Please hit subscribe. I don't think I'm saying that loudly enough because we're getting a lot of views and likes and comments on these videos that we posted over the past week. We're not getting much subscriptions. Help your boy get to 1,000. We're right around the corner from it. We're about 928 right now as I'm recording this. Help me get to 1,000. Join the crew. We're talking football this time of year. I'm trying to post, 3, 4, 5 times a week. I'm just giving you guys a little breakdowns on stories like this. And please leave a comment what you guys think's wrong with the Tennessee Titans, if there's time to turn things around. And check out other videos on this channel's page. Thank you for watching.